Yeah, so my name is Jake Rock. I am one of the camp co-directors, and depending on where she's at on your screen, Miss Karina Espejo is my co-director slash camper there. You can see her. And we are just so excited for camp this year. I mean, 5 months ago, we and a handful of other leaders were out at the campgrounds praying and trying to plan for camp this year. And at that time, there was so much left unknown that we didn't know what camp was going to look like. We didn't know if we were going to be able to have it or not. And what I would just say is I feel like for so many reasons, this camp is an answered prayer. We've just gotten to watch God every month just answer new prayers in powerful, powerful ways. And we're going to have camp at full force this year. It's going to be awesome. We're going to let you know the details with the COVID stuff and our masks and whatnot. But I want to just take a second and just really be in awe of what God has done here to make this camp possible. And so I want to welcome you tonight, pre-welcome the campers to camp next week. And I want to hand it off to Karina here for just a second before we pass it off to our awesome camp executives.
Yeah. So hi, I'm Karina Espejo up in Jacksonville, Florida, and so I'm with the Jax Church. Super excited for camp this year. Obviously, with us not having camp this year or last year in 2020, this year is going to be, I think, super special. We've got a huge team with us, and we're just excited for all of you who are faithfully sending your students virtually or in person. So it's super exciting, and we're really honored just to serve you, your families, and your campers. And for those of you who are campers jumping on, represent. So, hi.
What we're going to do is we're going to pass it off to our awesome camp executives, Mike and Cindy Morris. You know them, you love them. They are staples of Florida Youth and Teen Camp. So they're going to give some collective details here and just kind of some of the things that we need to know all together. And then they'll dismiss us into rooms for the campers and for the parents. So let's turn it over to Mike and Cindy.
Amen. It is great that everybody made time to be able to get on this Zoom call tonight. And it's not very far away. We'll all be up in the beautiful town of Fruitland Park enjoying Camp Geneva and the teen camp. And this night is all about really but helping to prepare the parents as well as the campers for an incredible week at camp. And it is going to be different, especially the very beginning, because we are really trying, as we always do, but because of the added characteristics of COVID, we have to add a few more precautions, but we always have tried to make an incredible safe camp for the counselors, for the children, for everybody involved, so that the parents back in the home can lessen their worry about what's going on at camp. And the first thing I want to talk about is when you arrive at camp, to be ready to work on your patients. The registration, the check-in process is going to be completely different than it was previous years. So if you think you know what's going on, you don't know what's going on, because it's going to be totally different. You will be given directions, and you may not, you're going to have an opportunity to work on your patients. Let's just leave it like that. And because we are not going to be able to gather all together in the gymnasium and do the registration. It's going to be a lot by driving around in your car, checking out. So we want to be safe that way. And just kind of prepare your minds and your hearts for that as well as we get started. And just to put the parents at ease, we do stress safety quite a bit at camp. Try to keep your children safe as much as possible between all the water activities that we do and the sporting activities and the things that may go on in the dorms at night. We've done a lot of coaching and teaching and instructing to help the counselors know what is good and what's not. And they're really prepared in a great way to take care of your campers or your children. So we're excited about it. And is there anything else? Nothing else. Well, before we get into the rest of it, let's go ahead and go to God in prayer. Father, thank you very much for this time tonight as we gather and prepare ourselves for this camp that's coming up. Thank you for the moms and dads that are trusting the safety of their children and their spiritual well-being with the camp as well. God, I pray that you continue to be with the directors and the campers and the counselors and everyone involved as we make these preparations for this coming week. Father, thank you so much for the grace and the mercy that you've given us. And thank you so much for the patience that you have showed each and every one of us at many different times throughout our lives. And God, we pray that we can exemplify that as well in the coming days. God, thank you for your son, and we pray this in his name. Amen.
Amen. All right. I'm going to go through the needed things to know for registration day, for check-in day. And then after that, Jose is going to give us a setup of what the expectations of culture and atmosphere for the camp. I'm going to pretty much read through this. I have, along with the safety committee for the Orlando Church, all the directors and the executives on our team, the core team, we have labored over what to do about the pandemic. And like Jake said, it wasn't very long ago that we were begging God to give us 50 people to sign up for camp so that we could say we could move forward. And then once that happened, and then it just started going 120, and then it's doubled, and the numbers are incredible. And we're very grateful. And so basically, once we get to camp, it's going to be a lot like camp. It's just getting there. It's going to be different. I do want to remind you the what to bring list. You can find that on floridateencamp.com and floridayouthcamp.com. That's the question, most questions we get is what to bring. And the information is also in your confirmation email. Okay. For checking in at camp, I want you to know that we've taken it very, very important, and we are exceeding the standard of the care required. So when you want to feel impatient or you want to feel like your opinion is different than ours, we intentionally are exceeding the standard of care. Procedures we are following to create a bubble at our camp, and that's what we stated at the beginning. The CDC and the state guidelines have changed, but we are holding to our initial stated guidelines as an issue of integrity for the church, because we believe that a lot of you signed your kids up because we made such an effort to make a bubble. Okay, before camp, all participants, campers and staff, must have, it was a PCR test, you are now able to get a rapid test. We will accept the rapid test. Much easier to get. It's free as well. That test just has to have results within 1 to 3 days of arriving on 6/13. Or proof of vaccination. For Orlando, Barnett Park is your #1 place to go to. For everyone else, you probably have someplace like we do like that, but also walgreens.com/COVID-19 testing and cvs.com Minute Clinic. I have gone on both those sites. I have set up appointments, worked all the way through it. It's easy, not complicated, and it will give you 3 days out. Well, no, that's not right. It will give you, you can place your, you can make an appointment next Friday, okay? All right, let's go to during camp. This is Sunday the 13th when we all show up. Parents and campers will be directed to registration areas in turn and not all at once. Everyone on the site is asked to wear a mask. Vaccinated or not, that's the bubble we're creating, because we're not going to police everyone, or we're obviously not gonna wear vaccine cards around our neck or anything. So everyone wears a mask, you stay in your car, and you register your children. So When you're in this long line, no socializing of campers, or you can't get out, you haven't seen somebody for 2 years, you can't get out and socialize. Please stay in your car. That's what's really going to be important. All participants will start out and will be checked by nurses through that small COVID screening of questions, temperature check. You will be asked to show your verification that you were either vaccinated or received the rapid test response. That response will be noted, but we will not ask for cards. There will be no cards on file. So we're not getting into that. It's just honesty and integrity. You show us, we check you off, and we move on to the next step. Some hospitals require the vaccination or a vaccination card or the rapid test verification. If your child goes to the hospital from camp and it's not an emergency, you will have to provide that information to the hospital. If it's an emergency, then they will automatically treat your child. Okay, so we're not caught in that situation either. Okay, the rest of the check-in after we do that will be by stations, which you, if you've been to camp, are familiar with. The money part, the team assignment, all phones will be turned in, concession cards can be bought, and the nurse check-in for medications. Now, an extremely helpful thing here on the money, if you owe any balance and you can pay that this coming week before camp, that will make the process so much easier because it'll be a check. It'll be Scott and Murray Wolf, check. You won't have to, it'll be awesome. So now you may not be able to. Your budget might be that it has to come with you on Sunday, and we understand that, but we just want to give you the opportunity to pay ahead of time. Jen Poole, our amazing administrator, on Monday will start sending out emails letting you know that you have a balance and that you can pay. Like I said, it's not to coerce you to pay. It's letting you know that if you go online and pay, it will benefit you for time management. If you are going to buy any more concession cards, if you could have the proper cash, they're $5 a card. We've already sold 300 online, so you guys did amazing on that, 300 cards. But if for some reason you did not order a card online when you filled out your registration form, if you could have the appropriate amount of cash, that would be great. $5 a card, okay? The t-shirts and the bags will be given to campers in the cabins. It's always been a big fun thing to do in the gym, but it's just not as feasible. It would take a lot less time if we do it that way, all right? One of the things we did change, we said no parents in the dorm. What we reconsidered and are allowing is one parent with a mask on per child to go into the cabin or the dormitory to help their child get settled. We thought that was really important because the fact that we missed a year, you've got even some 7th and 8th graders that have never been to camp. And then throw in the youth camp, most of them will not have been to camp. We just thought that was really gonna be hard to send, you're entering 4th grader with a bag and their goodies into the dorm. So that's what we're gonna do on that. And this is just some general information so that you can just be aware of how serious we are. The only day volunteers basically that we're having are guest speakers, and they will go through that same protocol of vaccination, rapid test, screening, and everything. So that'll be a great setup. For your information, during camp, no one's going to be going off site without permission. I mean, you're not supposed to do that anyways, but I mean, we're going to really hold it into less Walmart runs, less Sam runs. We're going to do just the minimum that we have to do. We're going to limit the cabins or the dorms doing their, they get into ordering food from the community. Camp Geneva, the staff is very cooperative. They sanitize the camp dorms and cabins and bathrooms twice a day, and they will wear masks, and especially when they're interfacing with the campers. There'll be multiple water stations and multiple sanitation pumping gel stations. If we were to have someone that gets sick at camp and we suspect it's COVID, well, they get sick at camp, they will go to the nurse as soon as possible. I know one of the things sounded like we were going to isolate them immediately, but that was at the nurse's station. They will contact the parents or the guardian, the nurse will. Isolation will be with a nurse. They won't be isolated to a small little room by themselves or anything like that. Then we'll take care of the testing, the observation, and the tracing. So we feel like we've done our due diligence. We're very excited. Once the kids get to camp and they're in that bubble for their first meeting Sunday night, that's when you go back to CDC guidelines of they don't wear masks to sleep, they don't wear masks outside, and they don't wear masks in the water anyways. So many things are outside. The rooms are all big. The auditorium is huge. The gym's huge. We think it will. We think it'll work like a well-oiled machine, as much as it always has. We can have questions in a little bit, but I'm going to ask Jose to go ahead and talk what he was going to share, and then we can come back to questions and answers.
All right. Well, thanks, Cindy. Thanks, Mike, for getting us started there, and for all that information about the COVID protocols and how to check in and stuff like that. I'm sure people will have some questions, and so we'll be able to address those in just a moment. But really just wanted to talk about what it is we're trying to do at camp. What are we trying to create, the culture, the atmosphere? You know, Paul taught us in 1 Corinthians about ministries and how we're meant to build. And, you know, he talked about, you know, using costly gems and that kind of thing, you know, to take a gem out of the ground and to polish it, to work it, to get it to where it's prepared and be able to use for decoration in a building. There's a lot of work. And so just to reassure you that there's been a lot of thought, as every year, to camp and the theme and the speakers and the lessons and all the things that go into camp, even the games. I mean, there's a lot of time really devoted to, you know, figuring out the kinds of games that will, one, get our kids excited about participating in, gives them some things that'll be memorable, but also to really, you know, help them to navigate, you know, being able to be competitive and supporting one another and all those kinds of things. And so, you know, one of the things that we really are animate about, and Mike touched this on in the beginning, is really creating a safe atmosphere. Safety is a big deal to all of us, not just in the physical sense, but even emotionally and spiritually. We want to protect our kids, you know, the physical safety, the lake, and all those things. We don't play around with any of that. But even of late, in the last several years now, it's been a good while, we want to create an atmosphere where the kids feel safe. You know, one time it was brought to our attention that there were a few kids that didn't want to participate in camp because they were bullied. And unfortunately, you know, we couldn't do anything about the things that have happened. But since then, we've done a lot to institute a no bullying policy and really training our staff to be aware of those types of things. Now, we're not perfect at it, and sometimes things happen without our being aware. But to the best of our ability, the things that we really do is to make sure that every kid feels safe. We've put a no prank policy inside of the dorms. It's a safe zone. You can't mess with somebody in their bed. You can't mess with their property. We hold that in high regard. I mean, if a camper has been found to have been destructive to any property, be it the camp or another campers, we take that very seriously and we address those matters. And so we want to make sure that, you know, your kids are aware that this is meant to be a safe camp. But as much as we want to be safe, we want to have tons of fun. And so we do all our best to make sure that all the activities and all those things are well thought out so that the kids have a blast. Part of the thing that we do is we arrange all of the kids on teams so that they can compete against one another. And that is a lot of fun. It's as much as fun to participate as it is, I believe, now to watch. I've been able to watch in the last several years. I've had a front row seat to the tug of war and seeing these kids being drugged through the mud and all that kind of stuff. They are just the laughter, the screams of excitement, the joys of winning, the victory chants that they do, and even the ones that don't win their specific pull. They're all excited as well. Watching the kids go with every bit of all that they have to run down the hill and get their canoes in the water and run back again and do it again and do it again, and just the victories that happen. And so we love to have fun, and there's all kinds of things at camp that allow us to be able to do that. And but at the same time, one of the things we try to do is make sure that the competitiveness is all in good fun. You know, sometimes, you know, campers, and if I'm honest, some of the camp counselors and staff could get a little aggressive and competitive as well. We do our best to address those things and make sure that everybody's still it's all in good fun. This is only for camp. Whether you're blue, gold, yellow, teal, whatever, it doesn't matter. When you go back home, it's just you. This stuff is just at camp. And so we really just want to have a lot of fun together and really just build each other up. And that's one of the things that we really try to do. And so besides the fun, besides the safety, I think the biggest thing, and this is where we're all sold out for this, is the spiritual side of things. You know, I really love some of the writings of C.S. Lewis and how he has created some of the places like Narnia. There's these other world places that his characters in his books get to go to and experience, and it's really, really cool. I love the fantasy and being just in those stories. You know, something that's really special about camp that we've been able to experience, those of us that work camp and those of us that have gone to camp, is this very other world. You know, one of the policies that most people like, some of the kids might feel a little bit upset about, is getting rid of the cell phones. You know, yeah, I know you like your video games and you like to be connected on Instagram and all that stuff, but you know what? You know, being disconnected from the world and being able to be in our own world is incredible. And the memories that get built and all of those things, it's just really neat watching the Holy Spirit just move through our camp. And we've watched God do some powerful things in the lessons. We've seen worship nights where kids were just pouring out their hearts in worship to God through song and in prayer. And it's been inspiring to see these young people just giving their all to God. And so, you know, that's one of the things that we're really, really striving for in every detail, from the theme of the camp to the lessons that are being taught to the speakers that have been chosen, the camp counselors that have been chosen, all the staff. The whole thing behind everything that we do is to present the gospel, to present Jesus, to help people to see God. That's what priests are meant to do. We're meant to put God on display. And so that's our goal. Our ultimate goal above everything else is to make sure that we get to put God on display so that people can hear the story and choose to join it. So thank you so much for this. We are just really, really excited. There's going to be a pretty full camp this year. Lots of great folks all participating, and just really, really looking forward to seeing all of you in just a week. So Thank you for your time.
Okay. I want to go back and answer the questions that that were in the chat. Because the campers will have had vaccines, they've been vaccinated or tested, no masks are going to be expected unless your child, there's a preference for wearing a mask, which could be a multiple reasons. But no, it's not going to be a requirement at camp. Concession cards, they are small cards, $5 each. They will be laminated. They will, if you've ordered them ahead of time, they'll be on the camper's lanyard, and they are useful at free time for soda, snacks, chips, that kind of ice cream, that kind of thing, candy. And if you have not ordered concession cards, that's another thing you could do ahead of time. You could call Jen Poole at the Orlando Church office. I can put her number in the chat. 407-823-7370. She will charge it to your account, and then you can pay that in your balance. And that will help you out tremendously. Question on water safety. Yes, the camp does testing that they need. The bacteria water quality is standard testing.
It meets health department requirements.
As for lifeguards, I've always had a strong desire to hire outside lifeguards. Even when we've had teens that were lifeguard qualified or people within our fellowship of churches, I've never wanted to put that burden on someone that was in our fellowship. And so we have, at this point, I have four, at least four on 3 days and 3, which is more than we've had before. But we're so very fortunate to have those. We pay them well. They love to come to Camp Geneva, and that just takes the burden off of us. And the blob.
What about the swim test?
Oh, swim test. All kids have to take a swim test.
Use the lake.
To use the lake. I have an echo in here. To use the lake. There's a blob. The insurance hasn't been fully settled on that at the camp, but your kids can pray about that because they will want the blob to be open. There's canoes, kayaks, life jackets are provided. The life jackets have to be worn in the canoes and the kayaks. Like Mike and Jose are saying, their safety, water safety is way over the top. Well, probably not over the top. It's considered highly.
Thanks. So we have a few more questions. I think people are wondering how much is reasonable to send their camper with concession cards. I know they load it up by contacting Jen Poole or during registration, and Jen Poole's information is in the chat. But how much would be reasonable for concession cards?
I think the items are $1, $1.25, maybe some $1.50, $2 or $3 a day. Prices have gone up a little bit. I used to say 5 or 10. Now I would probably bump it 15 if your child's a big snacker, or if you think that they're not going to get enough food at the regular times, or they're going to just want to have snacks.
There are no healthy choices at the snack shack, but they're all really yummy.
Someone asked, can we send them with some snacks?
Okay, listen very clearly. The camp does not allow snacks in the dorms. That's what they tell me. That's what I pass on to you. I don't want to know if you do anything different than that.
That's great. Thanks. And then I'm going to backtrack some of the earlier questions that might have gotten swept up. So, for those of you who are jumping on late, we did talk a lot about COVID protocols. So, that's going to include obviously what we're talking about with not even just COVID safety, but water safety. I know we talked about paddle boarding. So, just to confirm, are we having paddle boarding?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes, there's paddleboarding, and everyone that's on the lake, whether canoe or paddleboard, has to go out with a life vest.
Perfect. And then we also talked about, again, COVID safety and staying in cars, except for the parent with that is going to be masked, right, Cindy? So
correct.
all of that information, it'll be on the recording. So for those of you coming on late, make sure to watch the recording. And if you still have questions, you can email us. And then some new questions before we keep going. I know we want to move this along. Are there vegetarian options in the lunchroom?
There are vegetarian options. There's a lot of vegetarian options. If you have marked on your application for camp that you are vegan, vegetarian, gluten-free, then I have turned that into the appropriate people at the camp. They know that. Our camp is peanut free because we have so many peanut allergy kids. So I do know that no snacks will have peanut butter or peanuts in the cookies or the muffins or anything like that.
And gluten free? Any for those with gluten?
And gluten-free options, yes.
And then I think we've got a few. Go ahead, Cindy.
Someone wants to know how to get your swim partner. You will pick a, that's a really good question because you're going to have a friend that doesn't want to go swimming, right? We will find you someone, or you talk a good friend into coming down to the lake and being their buddy.
Great.
You do have to have a buddy though to be in the lake.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. Medications, I know you briefly talked about it, but all medications will have to be checked in with the nurse, right, at registration.
Yes, kids cannot take their own medications unless the nurse gives you permission. And that would be for whatever Donna's reasoning would be. That we don't want any medications in anyone's luggage or anyone's belongings in the camp for someone else to get a hold of. And it's the same thing someone asked, I mean, not the same thing, but someone asked about money. Can you pay money at the concession stand? You can. We just want you to be cautious. Someone could steal, take your concession card too. But we have proof that you bought a concession card. So.
Great. One last question that I don't think you've already answered, or that you haven't answered yet. Will the youth be able to talk to the parents during the week?
Yes. We allow anyone that wants to call home is allowed to call home. They will come to the Cypress building where the directors stay, and we will make arrangements for them to call home.
Great. And for those of you, I know y'all are really excited about camp and have tons of questions. Chances are, as Cindy mentioned, Jen Poole is going to send out that email with details about drop-off time and what it's going to look like. Some of it's going to be repeated information that Cindy just went through. So just hold on to your hats. Make sure you're looking for that email from Jen Poole. If you still have questions, please, please, please feel free to email us back. Okay, y'all?
There's one thing on the clean water bottles. I'm not sure how to keep the water bottles clean, except cleaning them at night in your cabin, but you're not allowed to put anything in your water bottles except water. They're not allowed to get any fruit juices or punch or lemonade or anything from the cafeteria. They can have that at lunch. They cannot fill their water bottles with that liquid.
Yep. And one more question I forgot. Thank you, Ariana. Are they allowed to bring their own money?
Yes, you can bring your own money, but it's just, there's the issue of you could lose it, someone could take it. So it's at your own risk, yes.
Yeah, and the water is provided, by the way, for going back to the water bottle question. We have stations all around camp. And yeah, it would be considered more like drinking fountain water, right, Cindy?
Correct.
Yeah. And then there was another question about medications. For medication, is someone going to tell them when to take the meds? Some meds need to be administered at a specific time.
Yes, if it is time sensitive, we have 2 nurses on staff at the teen camp, 1 at youth camp, and yes, they are very conscientious of that. And you do not have to bring your own water bottle. You paid for one in your registration.
How do we figure out where to place our campers?
We ran, that's Jose and I, that's on our plate. We pray and we randomly let the computer do its thing. We are known to make limited movement if there's siblings, if parents request that they may not be appropriate relationships to be on teams. And yeah, that's it.
Yeah. So what's the cabins going to be assigned like to? So we're not, and to answer this question succinctly, our younger teens are with the younger teens, and then the older teens are with the older teens. So 7th, 8th, and 9th are together, and then 10, 11, 12 are usually together when it comes to the sleeping arrangements. And then it comes to
And teams.
And same with the youth. Is that what you said, Jose?
No, the team, they're in the dorms by grade and also on teams by grade.
And also on teams. Got it, teams. Yes, so that's how we divide up the sleeping arrangements and the teams. Is the cafeteria socially distanced?
No.
So these cabins, everybody's kind of sleeping together. Think about it, a big old room, and there are a bunch of different bunks. So there was a question, is there only one person per bunk or two? Everybody gets their own bed, individual beds, but they're all in big rooms, if that answers that question.
And they are all bunk.
Military. One giant row of bunks on each side.
If a child has their first shot by camp, do they need to do the COVID test?
Yes.
Yes.
Fully vaccinated is 2 weeks after your last shot.
Mm-hmm. So, and to be clear, you're not fully vaccinated until 2 weeks after your last shot. What time do we wake up?
You're lucky I'm not a counselor anymore. Breakfast is at 8. Govern yourself accordingly. You're going to get kicked out of the cabins at 8:30, so
yeah,
it's up to you.
Yeah, that's really good. And that's mostly for safety. So for those of you thinking through that, cabins are locked off at times where they should not be in the cabins. They are locked. So when they're supposed to be out, they're out, and those cabins are locked. So for breakfast, at, what is it, 8:30, 8:45, our life support comes around and locks up all the cabins. So,
yeah.
I think that we should, because I want to really hear from Marcus and Amy, and we did this time frame. Let's move, and then if there's questions, people that have questions could stay on, and then you could pop off. But I want everybody to get a chance to hear the next section, please.
Yeah.
So let's go ahead and do our breakouts, and we'll be able to connect with the parents on one side and with the teens on another. See you in a moment. All right, so we're going to get started here. Thank you so much, Overstreets, for joining us today and just being willing. You know, we searched and searched, parents, for the most qualified people that we could find in order to help us and be prepared for camp. Why did we choose the Overstreets? Well, as it was said earlier, Amy actually attended our first teen camp, so she was one of our first ever campers. Marcus and Amy both led the teen ministry as one of their first ministry stops in their illustrious career as being on staff. And Marcus and Amy have both served at teen camp at different capacities in different years. I think that's probably where I met Marcus first, was actually at teen camp. They're serving side by side one of those years. So super, super cool. And now they are, like I said, been speakers at teen camp. They're avid supporters of teen camp. And now they have children at teen camp and also youth camp. And they will not be outdone because they are now assistant directors for youth camp. So those are their qualifications. Thank you so much, guys. for joining us today and being willing to be interviewed to help us to prepare for camp. So without further ado, I'm just going to ask you guys a few questions. We can dive right in. And then afterwards, after we get done as the parents, if you have any questions or anything that you would like some clarification or some further comments on, you can ask those at the end. We'll give you some time to do that. So for our first question, what can parents do to prepare their kids for camp? I'm thinking preparing them mentally, emotionally, and spiritually.
All right. Well, it's good to be with everyone today.
Hi, guys.
Good to see everyone. It's great to be able to speak to you as the fourth alternate for this interview. The other three in front of us couldn't make it. Yeah. No, anyway. No, we love teen camp, and we can't wait. And our kids are so excited, especially after all of what's going on the last year and a half, and us being way far away in Scotland for 3 years. We are fired up. We're excited. And Amy and I will be there with the youth camp, helping out as assistant directors with the younger children. So we will be there all week. So we're excited about it. Preparing our kids, man, there's so much. I'll just hit briefly on something Jose touched on, and that we spoke with the counselors with a couple of weeks ago, is begin now for the health of your kids, begin starting to detox them from technology. Please start now. Start tapering that off, have a plan, involve the kids in the plan, maybe ask them what their plan is, so they're very involved. So it's not just cold turkey. I mean, I'm telling you, that would be very hard on them. So the counselors are already tapering off, I hope. But just for their mental health, just come up with a plan. And that would be one of my first things that would be very new this year, especially with the pandemic and how reliant we all are on technology. That would be something we're going to do with our kids that I think is huge.
They need to have like videos and stuff for kids.
Yeah, you want to share some more?
Yeah, and I think going along with that is, for many of them, that is the main way that they've been communicating with people outside of their house for a year. So I think even just helping them to realize that before they go into it, like how will they communicate if they are needing help with something, if someone is bullying them or hurting their feelings? Or how will they communicate if they're grateful, they want to thank the cafeteria workers for the food? Just learning, reminding them, like, okay, this is going to be different. You've talked to the people in these four walls, or maybe a few students in your class if they've been going in person to school, but for most of them, this is going to be the first time that they've been around 200 people at once. It could be a little bit overwhelming. How do you communicate in that environment? For a lot of them, it'll be the first time they've spent the night away from home in a really long time, especially for an extended period of time. So just so that they're not caught off guard if they have weird feelings, especially if they've been to camp before, because they might think, I know what this is. I like this. But it is a little funny the first time that you're back with that many people. So I would encourage them to remember, say thank you, say if you need something, ask for help, ask questions, introduce yourself to people, do unto others as you would have them do unto you. I mean, so many of us want people to be interested in us. We want people to know our names. We want people to notice us when we're having a great time or having a sad time. But the more they can do that for other people, I think the less ostracized they will feel, and the less lonely they might feel those 1.5 to 2 days when they're getting adjusted in the beginning.
Yeah, I think the first couple of days, I think help your child. It may not be a big deal to them at all, but especially for the younger campers, those first 2 days, just kind of help them gear up that it could be very overwhelming
Lots of fun, but
lots
very
of fun,
overwhelming.
but just like emotionally overwhelming because of it's just a tidal wave compared to what our culture has been for the last year and a half.
Yeah, we don't mean to scare them. We just
No, it'll
we
be
just want-
absolute fun, but
yeah.
like, and you know, just have them ready to understand. Yeah, just push through those first couple of days, and you're going to be great. You're going to have a great time.
Mhm.
I love that. That's great advice, especially with the, getting them to introduce themselves to the other kids and stuff like that. And even, I think I would add too, if they notice, if you have a child who is a little more of an extrovert or whatever, and they notice other children that are not introducing themselves or whatever, but to help them to feel welcomed into the group, pulling them in to their groups. That's really good stuff. So you guys fall into this category, but if you're a parent with multiple kids going to camp, is there anything special to consider, like preparing kids, each child differently? I mean, how does it go in a household with multiple kids?
I have no idea on that.
He said, I have no idea.
Mom,
Well,
help me.
yeah, I mean, I guess maybe I think a lot of the advice is the same for each child, but I would imagine that question does relate a little bit to the fact that some of the siblings will dive in and will immediately connect, and some of the other ones will hang back because they're used to tagging along with big brother or big sister, and that's how they make friends. And so in our case, we'll have one child in youth camp and two kids in teen camp. Our youth camp and our middle child do everything together. So they have had to kind of come to the realization that they're really not going to see each other that much, but they are looking forward to seeing each other in passing in the cafeteria. And so rather than being sad about it and scared about it, they're like, well, we get to see each other in the cafeteria. That's good. So it's that be joyful always, give thanks in all circumstances, 1 Thessalonians 5:16 and 18 kind of an attitude, I would say. And if they are maybe both in teen camp, I would encourage your older children not to just snub the younger one just because they're used to teen camp. They know what to do. They've got all their friends. But be a good big sister, be a good big brother, and like help them a little bit, show them the ropes. That will go a long way, I think.
And I want to go back to the first question Amy mentioned about communication. This is kind of a funny thing I didn't even realize, but and what reminded me is someone wrote, I remind my 3 kids you're making lifelong friendships at camp. It triggered my memory that most kids have a phone, but they don't know their phone number, right? They're used to having their phone and then just kind of airdropping or whatever,
sharing a contact
sharing
card.
contacts. So in their notepad or whatever they bring, they may want to jot down their phone number if they meet some good friends so that they can actually exchange the digits, which sounds so crazy, but
they're not used to doing it.
They're not used to, they don't even know their phone number. I don't really know mine, except I have to fill out so many forms. You know what I'm saying? So just another practical thing.
Good stuff.
You're right, Monica. Some of them will look forward to the break.
Yeah. This is good. So as far as kind of the last thing maybe before you go to camp, how about packing? How do you guys prepare your kids with packing the bags and seeing what they're bringing, that kind of thing?
Prepare them for packing the bags, Marcus.
Well, right now I have to tell you, well, I think part of it's that we're going to go too. So we're already preparing. Amy's taking the girls out on a little shopping trip with their to-do list, and she took Nate out today. But we already have stuff in one of our rooms where everything's all lined up already. We're kind of like, that's kind of us, not everyone's like that, but
we take our list, we pull everything out and put it in front of us in the living room so that we're able to actually see what we have. So, because we don't want to waste money and go buy multiples, but then we also don't want to find out on, Friday or Saturday that they don't have these 3 things that we thought they had. So we like to pull it out, look at it, and then
Where is that list? I don't think I have a list.
there's one on the website for youthcamp.com, teencamp.com, and you can also find it in your confirmation email.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Well, good stuff. And I know all of our children are perfect little angels, but I would ask for parents to go through those bags too, even if you've helped them pack, just to make sure that there are no unnecessary things, let's just say it that way, making their way to camp. So, all right. So you've dropped off your kids. You've dried your eyes. You're on the way back home. Maybe you're on the turnpike or 27, and your kids are at camp. Okay, what do you do now that your kids are at camp?
Celebrate. Woo!
Go on a date.
Pray. I also think what we're going to try to do, I know for the youth camp, I'm overseeing this part of the youth camp, so I hope it gets done. We're going to give daily updates on Facebook and Instagram of the activities that the children are doing. So you'll be able to see what's going on and the type of fun things they're having. But I think, and the fun things they're doing. So I just think just a lot of prayer, keeping up with things, and enjoy your week.
Pray for your kids.
You got a bunch of great people there taking care of your kids. I mean, those counselors.
Pray for the counselors,
pray for
the
them.
directors, pray for the other kids that are in, your kids' team and the ones that they will become friends with.
Yeah, we were with those counselors a couple of weeks ago, and just so many incredible people.
Yeah.
And it showed my age too, because I remember some of them were when they were campers or younger than that. But it's a great group of people.
Yeah, so definitely praying for your kids. That's a great thing to be doing, praying for the camp, the counselors, all of that. We definitely need the prayers. One of the things new this year that we're doing is we've done this before, but they're way more focused on it, is creating a Facebook group for the parents to be able to kind of catch little video clips or pictures or stuff like that of what's going on at camp. So that'll be fun. You can join the Facebook group, and there'll be info in your email that Jen is sending out as far as how to join that group. And so you'll be able to contact them. And if you are really missing your child and you would like to call them, you can do that. You can give us a call, and we will set up a time for you to physically speak to your child on the phone. We actually do have a couple kids each day that really like to connect with their parents, and we don't discourage that. We definitely, want to be as available as they can. But again, those are one of the things you have to be patient with, because with 195 kids and counting at teen camp, it makes it really challenging to just to run and go grab your child so that they can talk to you on the phone. But we can schedule times and make that available to you. I know there are a few young moms and young children there, so we try to accommodate as best we can. All right, so now you're on your way back. Now remember, parents, this is really, really, really important. You have to pick up your kids. I know you've had them for a week. They're with us. This is not a permanent trade. You've got to come get them back. So your week is done. You've picked up your children. Now what? What do parents need to be preparing for as the kids get back home? What are some of the things that you should be thinking about?
Well, I think first, realize that when they get in the car, you don't know what to expect. But I think those first couple of days, they probably, every child's different. They may be just totally exhausted, and they may not be immediately ready to share every little detail and deep insight, especially the boys. But I do think it's very important as the dust settles to make sure as parents that we follow up with them and think, and you can use that week they're away. It's one thing you can do is to think about specific questions you can ask besides how was camp. All right. But specific questions to draw them out to see what the experience was like, the type of friends they met, the type of Bible seeds and that were planted and that you could potentially water. So, I mean, Amy, type of questions as the teacher inside of you.
Yes.
Good
Yeah. I mean,
questions.
teachers always want to help parents out with, rather than asking, how was school? Asking, how's your art teacher? Did you make a friend? How was math class? And summer camp is similar. They are tired and they are processing what just happened. And part of them doesn't want to go home, but part of them is ready to see you. And so I would definitely encourage you to be emotionally available that coming week. You never know when they're going to be ready to talk. And so if you're too busy to hear it, they may not.
It's typically when we're very tired.
Yeah, when we're very tired,
when
or
it's bedtime,
when it's bedtime, or we're trying to drive somewhere we've never been before. Those are the times when they want to open up. But yeah, I think things like, what was your favorite activity? Did you make any new friends? Is there anyone you'd like to try to stay in touch with this summer? What was your favorite lesson? Why? What was the funniest thing that happened? What was the most embarrassing thing? What was the grossest thing? What was the weirdest thing? What was the most surprising thing? But, not as an interrogation, but just some things that will help them, because man, every day for them is almost going to be like a week. The amount of different things that could possibly have happened and the wave of emotions. There will be so many activities, so many lessons, so many inside jokes, so many just little things. And so giving time for that to come out, it probably won't all come out even in 1 day or 2 days, but being ready and being interested.
Yeah, and I think you can start thinking through as well, depending on the age of your child, follow-up plan. Maybe there's someone they look up to in your small group or family group that could begin to do some Bible studies with them. I'm not talking necessarily about, okay, we're on track to get baptized 2 weeks from now. That could be the case, but just if they're very interested in the Bible.
Seeds have been planted, and don't underestimate that they may be very different than they were when you dropped them off.
Just stay on that. Just, have someone, see if they, besides yourself, also see if you may have someone that they look up to that could continue to keep the momentum going.
Yeah, that last part that you shared, it tends to happen, I believe, more often than not, that the kids come back from camp really eager to study the Bible, and we talk about it frequently throughout camp. Our relationship with God, etc. And so they come home, they're eager, and they want to study the Bible. I think it's really important, kind of what Marcus shared there, is just finding some people to help you, some mentors, other people to help study the Bible with them, those that are eager. It's just, helping them to navigate, that whole week of being unplugged and being away from the world has a great effect on their spirituality. So definitely good stuff there. I seen in the chat somebody talked about keeping in contact with their new friends. I was definitely, one of the questions I wanted to ask is, a lot of these kids are going to make friends in other cities, and how do parents help them to foster and nurture those relationships, especially, being that they're in other cities?
Well, I think we're in a new world now, aren't we? Like that's, I think that's what we're doing tonight. I'm like, how did we ever do teen camp without Zoom?
Like, how did you guys all trust us? All this information.
How did Jose and Cindy and Mike ever pull this off 10 years ago? But now we have the technology. Everyone's closer than you think. So like I said earlier, the challenge is they won't have the technology there. So it's just a matter of getting phone numbers and names and helping them do that. I think would be the key, but it's so easy to get in touch with each other now. And really even more so, it's become our new world.
And if they don't have a phone yet, I think that's okay. But like, are they going to be allowed to use your phone number? Do they have a Roblox name? Would you, help them to have their own like little email address that you help monitor? But it would be good for them to have something so that they don't feel like all these other kids are going to connect that have a phone, but I don't have a phone yet, so I'm not going to be able to stay connected, or
Yeah.
would that kind of thing. And especially if it is something where a few of them want to have a Zoom call or something like that, Zoom is really easy. You can send a link, but you still have to have that initial phone number or email address to get those things
Some
sent
kind of
out.
connection that you guys can make. Just plan ahead for your child so they can connect.
Right. Good stuff. I did want to ask this question because as much as we want to prepare for all the great things that happen, sometimes kids have negative experiences at camp. How do you help a camper, or your teen, who's had a bad experience? How do you navigate that? One of the things that we've had experience in the past, and we do our best to avoid, but what if they were bullied? How do you address that? How do you help your child navigate the hard feelings and things? What if they've heard of a child, another teen admitting that they were hurting themselves with cutting and other really intense situations, like even contemplating suicide and more? How does a parent navigate something like that?
Good question. I do think I can answer this partially. We haven't experienced this ourselves. I will say that in the counselor training we were a part of with the youth, with the younger children, is those who are supervising these children. There's no, like, when it comes to the child's safety, or in any shape or form, there's no confidence. I mean,
Confidentiality is removed.
Yeah, it's not like, oh, this is just our D group or whatever. No, like the parent will be notified for the safety of the child. We're gonna work that out. But maybe this is something Mike and Cindy may be a little better to comment on that one.
Yes,
this was a late question. Go ahead, jump in.
I would like to comment on that. Because in 2019, we had a couple circumstances that we felt uneasy to completely deal with. Dr. Chuck Lorbeer, who is a psychologist out of the Jacksonville Church of Christ, will be with us all week long, 24/7, and very grateful for that. So he will be there for immediate attention to children that have specific needs brought to him, or the kids will know who he is and why he is there. You all signed waivers allowing your children to, well, if you agree, you signed a waiver allowing your child to have conversations with Dr. Chuck, and we are very, very grateful. The counselors are there to provide spirituality and fun, but they are not there to help in those deeper needs that some of our kids have. So we're very grateful and feel very another layer of security that he will be with us for the entire week.
So I think that's great. Thank you for initiating for that to happen. And I would add back to I think part of the question, which was, let's say it doesn't get brought up at camp, but the kid comes home and shares it with the parents. I think, there's going to be a wide range of what you would consider serious, I suppose. And so obviously a lot of prayer and advice yourself from your local leadership or whoever, depending on what you think the situation is. But on many situations, I would say it's very similar to if something like that happens in our local ministries or a friend at school or whatever. Is first, it's okay, you encourage your own child to encourage their friend to share it with mom and dad. And they say, please tell your mom and dad because I'm going to tell my parents. And, and we follow Matthew 18 with our children, just like we follow with other people. Encourage their friends to tell their parents, okay, has that happened? How did it go? Do we need to bring mom and dad in? How did that go? And we've had to do that with our own children, whether it's related to internet safety, or some of the things that have happened with with our own children. So I hope that helps. But I think when we think about Jesus and his plan in Matthew 18, to one layer at a time until it's resolved is a great policy to follow.
Well, thank you guys for that. And
we are building these relationships for life, and we want to know. Too many times we will hear way after the fact, months later, that someone was bullied or an instance happened that was never resolved, and that makes me sad because we want the children to see that we react right away, and that things don't get pushed to the side, and that we're not known for not dealing with something. So please feel like you can come to us with any concern, and be able to work through it.
Yeah, no, thank you guys. And Cindy's right. I mean, I thought about that question at the end, and it was really just because of our experience in 2019. We had a couple of very tough situations, and a lot of the kids were aware. And so we want to make sure that we're doing our best to protect our kids. And I definitely, teen camp, we send your kids home, but we want to hear back, especially if there's these types of things. We do get to hear the good news. We get to hear about the baptisms. We get to hear about children studying the Bible. It is so exciting to hear about all these kids in the different cities, just deciding to follow Jesus because of teen camp. It just amazes me. I love seeing the lifelong friendships and all the things that go along with camp, and then watching those kids who had been at camp all those years become Christians, go to campus ministries all over Florida, and then come to serve at camp. We've got generations of kids now, and it's incredible. And so God's going to do amazing things. And I just wanted to interject that last question because, not everything, we don't always look through rose-tinted glasses, right? There's some harsh realities sometimes we have to navigate. And I just want us all to be really prepared. We don't want to give the devil a foothold at all in our homes, in our kids' lives, in our churches. We want to see the glory of God. And so thank you so much, Overstreets, for that. We're going to turn it over to Mike and Cindy. We're going to go ahead and take some of these questions here. I can moderate, but we'll just start kind of just going through these together, and then we'll be done.
Can you take the, Jose, can you take, first of all, the no ceremony exit plan for camp? I think that was the biggest question. I want to make sure everybody hears.
Yeah. I saw that as one of the last questions there. And that is a closing ceremony. So unfortunately, just like we're having a very contact-free, if you will, check-in, it'll also be a contact-free checkout. And so you will not be able to participate live at the closing ceremonies. Your kids will be able to experience closing ceremony with the awards and all the funfair and all that stuff in the fond farewell. We will be putting it on the Facebook group and posting it on Facebook Live. So you'll be able to see it live in your cars while you're driving or waiting for closing ceremony to finish up there. And then because it's on Facebook Live, it'll be recorded and you'll be able to watch that later. So unfortunately, because of what we're trying to do, we want to finish off strong by keeping everybody contact free at the end. And so you'll be receiving the same way that you check in your children. There'll be the same kind of routing going through the parking and navigating your cars through the check-in spots, as they will be now checkout spots. So some of the tough choices that we've had to make because of our COVID situation, but hopefully it'll only be this year. All right. Yes, just to confirm, yes, for the youth camp, the kids, it's 8 to 10 campers in the cabin with 2 adults sleeping in the cabin, and that is correct with that. There was a question I saw earlier about virtual camp. Basically, virtual camp, each of the kids will receive a t-shirt, bag, water bottle, and they will be participating in the evening sessions for the Zoom. You'll get a schedule that'll let you know with when you'll be able to check in on Zoom, etc. And there's a couple of games and stuff like that you'll be able to participate in to help the teams who are alive and at camp in person to also get points as well. So there's a lot of interaction going on between the kids at home and the kids at camp, but it won't be all day, every day. There'll be specific times that they'll be able to log on and you'll get the information for that. All right, we got the check-in time. Check-out time will be noon on Saturday. You'll be able to pick up your kids beginning on noon on Saturday. I already talked about closing ceremony. Yeah, summer camp, not boot camp. All right, any other questions? I don't know if I've gotten everything. I think we're good. I don't see anything else. Let me scroll back down to the bottom. All right, I did have one direct message, and that basically if for some reason you need to pick up your child early, obviously you can get your child early. We encourage them if they can make it all week long. But if you have a special circumstance, you've got other obligations or things, vacation, whatever that you have to do, you are able to check out your kid earlier in the week.
I would suggest on the Bible question that any of the children going to camp or youth camp would be an inexpensive Bible. It's going to go in and out of their bag, in and out of the dirt, in and out of whatever.
Yeah.
So I would never send something that was valuable to you or something that might not even make it home. I definitely have a lot of, can have Bibles.
But also not a children's Bible, like an adult
yeah.
Bible, an NIV, a Holman, an ESV, regular.
Yeah,
Bible.
just a old, not an old, but I mean a paper, inexpensive paper back Bible. And they do not need song books. If you've got a regular, if you got an old what to bring list, they don't need song books.
Yeah. Kids do not know what their color or teams are. They find that out day of. All right, so as far as the dorm safety, as far as any inappropriate behaviors, the dorms have been designated safe zones. All of the counselors know that. And so for teen camp, in each of the dorms, you have at least 5 adults per floor, minimum. There are, especially like in the girls' dorms, a lot of the additional female staff will be dorming with the girls there, so there's extra supervision there, and we monitor those situations as best as we can. Obviously, we're not, don't have, like the eyes all around our heads and things get by us, but as soon as we are made aware, we act upon those types of things immediately. Again, safety and a child safety is very, very important to all of us. Okay. All right. I think that's it.
I think so. Sounds good.
Did I bring us
Awesome.
back?
You can bring us all back together.
All righty.